Is the Denver market cooling down already? We're still in spring, not even to summer yet, and inventory is rising at unprecedented levels. Guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Patrick Lorienti. I am a licensed real estate agent here in Colorado and have been for the past 10 years. I know this market really well. And good news for you, we do these updates every single Wednesday. So be sure to subscribe because when you go to buy and sell a home, this type of update is going to set you up for success in both knowing what's happening in today's market, but better yet, what that means for you as a buyer, what that means for a seller. And ultimately, guys, I articulate this stuff in a way that is going to best set you up for success in your transaction buying here in Colorado. So be sure to subscribe because 3, 6, 12 months down the road, when you're ready to transact, you're going to want to find these updates. And I don't see anyone else doing them quite like I am every single Wednesday. Without further ado, guys, let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen, and as you can see at the bottom, there's my number. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I am the one answering calls, texts, etc. But today we've got a report that we're going to go over, and I feel this is going to be really beneficial for you guys to know what's actually happening in the market. Is it actually cooling down, and why inventory is rising so fast? So let's do this. As always, I'm going to get my screen ready to share for you guys. And we are going to go here. Boom. All right, let's make sure this is on to the stage. And inventory surges and prices wobble, yet buyer demand defies economic concerns. This is so interesting, guys. The market we're in today is super unique because you have a ton of inventory. You have a ton of supply. And even though demand is also significantly higher than previous years, like we're still seeing that the market is actually slowing down. So come along this journey with me. I'm going to show you some charts, better yet this report, and you're going to know exactly what you need to as a seller and buyer. So the average sold price remains elevated, driven primarily by larger homes continuing to move. Even as available inventory surges past 500 homes. Wow. Market indicators are softening slightly. Days on market rose for the second consecutive week. Price reductions became more common in the proportion of homes closing below asking price may be on the rise. I think it is on the rise. Yet buyer enthusiasm shows impressive resilience, with weekly showings surpassing 30,000. Guys, just wait. That number is absolutely absurd. And I'll show you why here in a sec when we look at the graphs. But that is incredible amount of buyer demand and showings, especially for this market. With weekly showings surpassing 30,000 for only the second time in 3 years. Can you believe that? Second time in 3 years. Are tariffs shaking up the real estate scene? Certainly, some buyers are wary about their jobs, business, or financial security. However, as anticipated, day-to-day needs and pent-up housing demand seem to carry more weight than broader geopolitical and macroeconomic anxieties. So what's the key takeaway from current market conditions? The late spring shift is arriving early, with several key trends emerging. Days on market will likely keep rising through year end. Days on market is when you put a sign in the yard to when your house goes under contract. That amount of time is likely to rise. So it's going to take longer for you sellers looking to sell your home. Not only that, but average sold prices will start to decline. Price reductions will become more frequent. More homes will sell below asking price. And inventory will continue increasing through early October, which creates excellent opportunities for buyers. Guys, buyers, listen up. Stay to the end because I got some good stuff for you. Really good opportunities may be coming, and I want you to be aware of it so that you can capitalize on today's market. Guys, and if you're joining me, throw in the comments where you're joining from. If you have questions, we'll answer them live here. I've got my coffee. We're going to jam as long as we need to get you guys the right information here. And love nothing more than actually engaging with you guys and answering some of your questions. So sellers may initially feel frustrated by these changes, and that's understandable, but it's essential to accept and adapt. Like the reality is sellers, like it just is. It just is what it is, right? Like good, bad, ugly, not desirable. Like if we just put all that to the side for a second. Now, this will impact some of you sellers, meaning like this may be or make or break for you. A make in the sense of like this could make you or break the fact that you're going to sell or not. But if we just put emotion aside, like I get the frustration, but it's just the market. It just is what it is. If we look at it objectively like that, then we can kind of start to look at it and say, okay, the market is the way it is, but let's look at your specific scenario and look at, yeah, look, prices are dropping. Maybe you need to move quicker. There's different levers we can pull in order to align your strategy to best fit your goals despite the market. And so the accepting and adapting, I think, is going to be super, super beneficial for you sellers that, are looking to make a move in today's market. The good thing for you sellers is, even though it might be a con and you might have frustration on the selling side, likely you're going to buy, or at least for those of you sellers who are going to buy, there's going to be equal amount of benefit. No one controls the market, but savvy sellers and agents anticipate it. Now is the time to adapt. Sellers can directly influence two critical factors. These are the levers I was telling you about: price and condition. If a home isn't attracting showings, significant improvements in condition or meaningful price reductions are required. Those who resist adjusting now risk chasing a declining market and ultimately selling for less. Finally, sellers who plan to buy another home should remember, while their current home might sell for less than expected, they'll also benefit from similar conditions when purchasing the replacement home. Guys, if you're watching, like I generally don't read these before I do these videos because I want it to be real, authentic. I want to be learning and reading the reports and interpreting them with you. So I promise I didn't read and know what was coming in this paragraph, but it's exactly what I just said, right? Where if you are a seller who's also planning to buy, there's somewhat equal benefits, right? Showings. All right, guys, here's the chart. Buyer activity has been extremely robust this year, up an impressive 59% compared to last year. This is the graph on the right side here, 436,000 showings. Look how much more that is than 2024, 2023, in the pre-pandemic years. Like, absolutely crazy. We've got a ton of buyer demand. I'm raising my desk. I want to stand up with y'all. Let's get the energy going here. However, due to rising inventory, the market still feels slow to sellers, with homes averaging just 2.62 showings per week. Okay, let me explain this to you guys. So we have record amount of showings right here, relatively speaking. Guys, this is when rates were like 2 to 3%. Of course, we're going to have that many showings. The fact that we have this many showings in today's market, absolutely wild. But why, if we have that many showings of buyer demand, is all of this being said? Well, this is why, guys. Inventory is on the rise. And when you have that much inventory, you have that many more homes to see and choose from. And so what happens is, even though we have that many showings, it actually equates to just, on average, per listing, per week, 2.6 showings. So the 2021 and 2022, these years where these big graphs are, here's what that looked like: average showings per listing. We were peaking at 16 showings per listing per week. So even though we're somewhat close to pacing these numbers, we're still kind of at this bottom where we're only getting 2.62 showings per week. Even more notably, buyers have become less decisive. Historically, homes typically went under contract after 18 to 22 showings, excluding the frenzy of 2021 and 2022. Last year, this shifted dramatically, rising to about 30 showings on average. As of last week, it took approximately 35 showings to secure a contract. So yes, there's a ton of showings out there, but because there's a ton of inventory, the average showings per listing is actually pretty low, and buyers are taking more time to make a decision. So they're seeing more properties. So all of this, despite buyer demand, is actually leaning towards a market shift, all pretty much because of inventory. Sellers, We're saying you should remain patient, but also realistic. Higher buyer activity is offset by higher inventory, and as a result, doesn't necessarily translate to quick sells. Homes must stand out in price and presentation to shorten the showing to contract timeline in today's increasingly selective market. We're almost done here, guys. And I'm going to give you some of my take on this. But for those of you joining, thank you. Number one, share a comment if you guys have any questions about your specific scenario, the market at large, anything I'm talking about. Would love to jam with you guys. As far as inventory surged to 11,556 homes last week. Historically, the market sees roughly a 50% increase in inventory from early May through September. So if you guys can see this chart, there's typically about a 50% increase in inventory, like starting right around here until right about here. And you could see it in the graphs. These graphs are just showing inventory from week 1 to week 53. So essentially January through December. And you can see from January, it's at an all-time low, and then it increases slightly until about May. Then it really increases, and then you see a decline in October. For perspective, inventory rose from 7,500 homes to 11,400 homes during the same period last year, and from 4,600 to 7,300 the year before. Oh, goodness. I haven't seen this, guys. Wow. Look at these projected metrics. This is concerning. If this trend continues, we may exceed 17,000 available homes by late September of this year. Guys, we set a really high number of inventory right here in 2024. You see this blue line. I think that the max or the height of it was like 13,000. If we're at 17,000, my concern is pricing. And I've said this on the channel before. I don't know if you guys are with me on YouTube or Facebook, but encourage you to watch my previous videos because we're building on this narrative and you guys are getting real live time updates of what's happening in the market. And we've talked about my concern of this being one of the first years in a long time where we have a negative price curve. This is it. Like, this is why inventory. Despite strong buyer interest, the growing inventory points clearly toward a shifting market landscape. While it's too early to fully quantify rising days on market, increasing price reductions, or home selling below asking price, these early indicators cannot be ignored. Sellers should stay vigilant, proactive, and realistic. Now is the moment for decisive adjustments in pricing and property presentation. Buyers, meanwhile, should remain patient but prepared, as opportunities for favorable deals will likely continue to emerge in the coming months. That's it, guys. That's the report. So let's do our best to kind of reel this in a little bit, summarize what we have going on here in the market at large. Simply put, we have an incredible amount of inventory and it's rising significantly, and we're likely going to hit an all-time high over the past 10 years. And with that, even though there's a ton of buyers out there, it's not keeping pace with inventory. And so think about this. If you walk into a store, and whether you love shoes or, throw it back to the 2000s, a CD from an artist, when there's a limited edition, that means there's only a certain amount of those items. And when you have a limited edition, say you have 100 pairs of shoes or CDs and you have 1,000 buyers, well, that product is going to be priced way higher because the supply and demand ratio. There's 1,000 people wanting to buy only 100 items. So this item gets increased in price. Well, the opposite of that is happening in today's real estate market, where you've got those 100 CDs or shoes, homes, and you've got 10 buyers, right? Or 50 or 60, to where they're going to have to drop this price in order to sell it because of the supply and demand. So that's simply put an analogy around what's happening in today's market. And so with homes, there's likely going to be a negative price curve. Now, for you sellers that are looking to sell and buy, good news is, like, you're going to sell for lower, but you're also going to be able to buy for lower. Buyers, like, this might be one of the greatest opportunities to buy. And other than when interest rates were so low, but if you take that off the table, this might be the greatest opportunity for you guys to buy in, I mean, more than 10 years, right? Like, what an incredible opportunity for you guys to get more leverage in negotiations, not just on price, but also inspection. And then not just in price, but also concessions to be able to buy down your rate. So buyers, like, keep an eye out. Now, obviously, there is a little bit of concern, right? You don't want to like buy into a downtrending market and you buy here and the market keeps going. So there's some of that of a conversation to be had. But if you have a high level, the fundamentals of real estate do not change. Greg, thanks for jumping on, man. Supply and demand will always be a basic reflection of market. Yeah, like it's so simple, right, Greg? Like if we cut out everything else, if you just understand supply and demand, that's it. That's all we have to understand to know what is happening with the market. I kind of love the simplicity because it makes it really easy to be able to read things and know what's going to happen with the market. But buyers, so really, really great opportunity to be had. If you have a high level professional, they're going to be able to walk you through some of the questions you might have, walk you through the market and what's actually happening. And here's why it's important to be on these types of videos, because if you don't know this and you go into the market and you're creating an offer, then you might not know, oh, here's what's happening in the market. I might have more leverage. How does that play into my offer price and the negotiations, etc.? Well, now that you've seen these types of videos, now you know how to have that conversation with your agent, and they should be having that with you. But in case they aren't, like, here you go, guys. I'm equipping you with the insights you need to set yourself up for success. Now, sellers, my sellers, I don't love this for you, but it is the reality of the situation. And so the number one thing you can do for yourself is to properly prepare your property. Holy goodness. That is a great tongue twister. Gosh, I got to write that down somewhere. Properly prepare your property. But all jokes aside, that's the number one thing you could do. If you guys prepare exceptionally well and you price accurately to both the condition of your home and the market at large, you're going to do just fine. The problem will be those sellers who don't prepare exceptionally well and they don't price accurately to condition and market. And what you're going to see happen, we already see this happening, but you are going to see it more. This is my prediction. We'll see it more than we ever have, of homes pricing here, the condition levels here, and the market levels like here. And then what you're going to see is they're going to be on the market for a very long time. And it's going to be this cascading price drop over and over and over and over again, to where it creates this scenario where when they sell, you're going to look at that and say, had you just priced properly to begin with, you likely would have made tens of thousands of dollars more. But because you were pushing price and not pricing accurately to the condition and the market, and you didn't properly prepare your house, like, that's what's going to be an issue. And so it's far past the market where, regardless of the condition, your house could have been falling down and you would have gotten tens and $1,000s over asking in 2020, 2021. We're so far past that market that it just doesn't work anymore. Guys, buyers are being picky. They have more to choose from. So you have to stand out in the crowd. How do you do that? Like, just ensure you prepare your property. Here's a good tip for you. Go to new build homes. Go around wherever there are new builds in your community, and look at their model homes. That is the best example of a very, very, very well prepared home. When you go through it, notice the experience you're going to have. Okay. The smells, the feel, look at the lights. All of them are likely going to be on. There's neutral colors all around the house. It's staged. And it's just going to wrap you in this warm, fuzzy, amazing feeling. Now, my my point here is not to get your house exactly like a new build, but it's to go in there and see what it means to prepare exceptionally well. The reality is a lot of you sellers are going to be living in your house. Like, is it going to be vacant to stage in the way the new build staged? And they're putting all the upgrades, etc. Again, the idea is not to match the new build, but it's to get as close as you possibly can and to give you an example of what that looks like in today's market so that you guys can set yourself up for success. The closer you get to that, the better the buyer experience is going to be had when they enter your house. And ultimately that's going to lead to you selling for more money and selling quicker in today's market, which what seller doesn't want to do that. Okay. And when a buyer walks through and has that experience, they're going to think, oh, this is a really good one. I bet other buyers are feeling the same way I'm feeling. I bet I don't have as much negotiation power and I need to move quick, et cetera, et cetera. And like there's almost like the science behind it that is probably very simple and easily understood and almost sometimes obvious. But believe me, guys, there's so much that goes into selling and buying homes that a lot of people don't think this way. And so that's why it's super, super important to have a high level team. If you guys have any questions, my number's down below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you guys get real live market updates. We do these every single Wednesday. And ultimately, I just want you guys to know what's happening in the market and be educated when writing an offer as a buyer, to be educated before listing your house as a seller in order for you guys to win in this market, to succeed and have as best experience as you possibly can. And if you'd like to do that with me, my number's down below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. I've been licensed here for over 10 years and would love nothing more to help you guys. I enjoy doing these videos, but believe me, there's nothing more I enjoy than actually sitting down and having these conversations with you. So with that, guys, it's been 22 minutes. Thank you so much for joining. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the comments. If you don't do it now, I'll see them later and I'll answer. But I'll hang around here for about 15, 30 more seconds to see if there's anything else you guys have for me. Again, thank you for joining. The Colorado real estate market is absolutely shifting. It is absolutely cooling down. I've been talking about this for gosh, probably going on about 2 to 3 months now. It's like I've seen the wave coming, right? And at any point in time, things can change. But anytime you see more inventory than you do demand, like it's pretty easy to kind of grab on and grasp to what that means for my buyers and my sellers. And again, I love doing these videos to educate you guys, but this gives me the opportunity to educate myself every single week better than all of my competition. So when I'm having conversations with buyers and sellers, like we can actually get into what's actually happening in the market. And I can competently answer that question when it is asked. I'm not seeing any other questions, guys. You rock. Thank you for joining. If you're in Colorado, the weather has been a bit bipolar, but we're getting more nicer days than we are not. Enjoy that. We're doing pickleball this weekend. I'm super stoked. And that's it, guys. Thanks for joining. Cheers.